It's not enough videos by Donkey Kong on this channel. Ugh. I need a break. Do not drink till you're 21 years of age, kids. Today, we are talking about Donkey Kong. Now, what about Donkey Kong? I don't know. I should ask him. I can't. He kind of lives far away. I gotta drive too far to talk to Donkey Kong, but I drive to Japan. That's a little ways away from where I live. But I have to give a little bit of a history lesson on the fabled beast before I can talk about his true magnum opus, the true magnum opus of the Donkey Kong franchise. 1981, July 9th, 1981, Donkey Kong releases in the arcades. Nintendo wasn't super familiar with making arcade games up to this point. So they kind of just winged it. They said, I want to follow my dreams and make Donkey Kong, but I must take a chance. So they did take a chance. And you know what? Donkey Kong was great. You play as Jumpman, who is a plumber, and you need to save Pauline, your damsel in distress, from the illustrious Donkey Kong, a gorilla on the loose. And you play in, I think, Brooklyn? Who cares? Who cares about the lore? It's just a fun arcade game. Now, Donkey Kong ate up many, many quarters and made Nintendo lots and lots and lots of money. So they said, well, let's print more money. So they make Donkey Kong Jr. The following year, they make Donkey Kong Jr. And while not as much of a success as Donkey Kong, it still was a good game that people enjoyed. Made some more money. Then, go to the next year. They make Donkey Kong 3. Now this one was quite the curveball. Now I have the NES ports of these games, so these NES ports came out later, but it's pretty much the same thing as the one in the arcade. It's very similar. The following year in 1983, they come out with Donkey Kong 3. Wait, I don't know if it was 82 or 83 on Donkey Kong 3. It was one of those years, so I'm just gonna wing it, I guess. This one came out in 1980 something, and while it was a good game, it sort of struggled to capture the success like the first two games got. The character from also, you didn't even play as Jumpman. You didn't even play as him. It was just a completely new character. So it was like a bug swatter. This one was weird. It was still fun though. It's still a good game, honestly. It's just a little odd. After Donkey Kong 3, that character that we knew and loved, kind of faded into obscurity. Instead, the heroic character, Jumpman, was rebranded to have the name Mario. And you know what happened to Mario. He got Mario Brothers in 1983, which saw the debut of his underdog brother, Luigi. Luigi's fun. I relate to Luigi. Luigi's a fun, lovable guy. But those two got their game Mario Bros. In 1983, and that saw some commercial success in the arcades. And then after that, Super Mario Brothers in 1985. And you know what happens next. Let's just say Mario becomes quite the classic. He revolutionizes the entire gaming market as a whole. And Donkey Kong? Well, Donkey Kong's kind of like Wreck-It Ralph. He's just laying in the dumps, man. Doesn't know what to do. He's just some villain that people don't care about anymore. Now, let's look to the year 1994. In 1994, Nintendo and Sega were in the midst of a console war, and their goal, well, make more money than the other. Nintendo had the Super Nintendo, Sega had the Sega Genesis, and they were competing, pumping out games left and right. Good game, good game, good game. Some bad games too. Madden. Nah, Madden's fine. If you like Madden, you know, I'm not here to dock you for playing with you. I mean, whatever game you like, really. I've just never been a sports guy, really. So, never really been into Madden. But I get it. Some people like it, and that's fine. I hope you enjoy games however you want to enjoy games. No one can really tell you how to enjoy games. I'm sorry, I'm getting so off track. Let's talk about Donkey Kong. Jesus, please write me a script. Nah, I'm kidding. Okay. Intermission. I gotta think about what I was gonna say next. What the hell was I gonna say? Oh, they're in the midst of a console war. Yeah. So Nintendo was looking to make a new platforming game with a new character, or a character that wasn't Mario, to fight Sega. And they wanted to show off some new impressive graphics. So who do you think they looked to? They looked to Donkey Kong, man. They looked to Donkey Kong. And they work with Rareware, which is a company that had these graphics at their disposal, the Silicon graphics. And they worked at Donkey Kong. They wanted to make a new Donkey Kong platformer. And in 1994, wait, I want to say it was November 21st? It was either the 21st or the 29th of November. I think they released Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. It doesn't say in the back. I kind of forgot. Oh, Donkey Kong Country was released in North America on November 21st or 29th, 1994. And when I tell you it was legendary, when I tell you it was legendary, I'm not bluffing. Everything about the game shook the world. Shook it. Critical acclaim, commercial success, and fame like no other. Donkey Kong Country was the warrior of the Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo strife of a lifetime. What was actually so special about the game? Well, first, the graphics. Obviously, art style is more important than just graphical capabilities, but Donkey Kong Country had both. The art style was great, full of color, full of life. Environments that made you feel like you were in nature. Fun, lovable characters. Fun, lovable cast of characters. Donkey Kong. Diddy Kong. Oh, Diddy Kong was a new character they introduced that would be Donkey Kong's friend. Or no, nephew. Wait. I think it's his nephew. Yeah, pretty sure it's his nephew. I gotta get a glimpse of that Donkey Kong. I want to get the lore of that Donkey Kong family tree, because Cranky Kong, which is a new character they introduced, is Donkey Kong's dad, who actually was the Donkey Kong in the arcade game. But then they made a new Donkey Kong design that's not the Donkey Kong from the old game. He's his own man. He's his own man. And then he has a nephew named Diddy Kong, and he is pretty cool. And then there's all these other new fun, lovable cast characters like Funky Kong. I guess he's just a friend. And I am so off track. Let's get on with this. I'm losing it. I'm off track. But yeah, there's a fun, lovable cast of characters. There's animal friends. There's expressive environment. The environments in Donkey Kong Country. This is the point when video games are becoming more than just video games. They're real pieces of art. They're just complete and utter masterpieces that are being formed together. They're using art, they're using music composition, art direction. And don't get me wrong, stuff like the original Nintendo, don't get me wrong, there are some masterpieces on that, but In this generation, this is when stuff really started becoming art and not just video games, like full-on art. The music is, the symphonies in Donkey Kong Country are like no other. The atmospheres, you feel like you're in nature. And this is all for Donkey Kong. You feel like you're in nature. It's all for Donkey Kong. I mean, all this. It's just for Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Country is a game like no other. It will teach you the meaning of life. It will teach you how to tell her how you feel. It will teach you how to be a better man for others. It might actually do that. It's a great game. But more importantly, you'll just go on a great adventure with Donkey Kong and friends. Great music, great atmospheres, really impressive visuals, really impressive segments, fun platforming that requires trial and error. And, this is the greatest adventure Donkey Kong has ever been on. I would say is either Donkey Kong Country 1 or 2, or Returns, or Tropical Freeze. Donkey Kong Country 3, that one's good. People hate on it too much. That one's good, okay? I see you hating on Donkey Kong Country 3. And you know what? No, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. I see you behind there making fun of Donkey Kong Country 3. Putting an end to it. It's a good game. It's not as, I would say it's definitely the weakest of the three, but it is still a very good game that someone put their heart into. So if you're that fan who's buying Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, but you're not buying Donkey Kong Country 3, you know what? Enough. Enough is enough, No, seriously. Enough is enough with these fans. You know what? I have a friend who told me that he didn't like Donkey Kong Country 3, but he played 1 and 2. Play it, man. Play the third game. Play it. 1 and 2, don't get me wrong, 2 is the magnum opus. God looks down from the heavens and he just sends down Donkey Kong Country 2. And he says, this is my final gift for now. Donkey Kong Country 2, baby. That's definitely should get a separate video. But today we're talking about Donkey Kong Country 1. Now, what was so special about it? Well, it used pre-rendered graphics. No, this was an extremely neat technique that they would use to combat Sega with all their stupid peripherals. The Sega Genesis, they were reaching a point when they didn't really know what to do with the system anymore, so Sega was just pumping out a bunch of random peripherals and random add-ons. Stop adding to it. It's fine. It's fine. The Sega Genesis, it got the Sega CD, which played the Sega CD, which was actually pretty cool because it could use CD music, but they weren't really doing anything with it. They made like a couple of good games for it and just abandoned it really quickly. And you know what they did after that? They made another add-on called the Sega 32X, which, okay, games are in 32X, more power, so that means the games are gonna be more gooder, right? Well, Nintendo proved everyone wrong. It's not about how many bits your system had. It's not about how much graphical power it had. It's not about winning or losing or more or less or whatever. It's about sitting down, making something, making a masterwork, and saying, I care. Instead of all these stupid add-ons and blah, 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 Nintendo sat down with Rareware, made a really, really good game with passion and soul and effort and someone who cares, and said, you can make a great game on any level of power. Nintendo has proved that time and time again that you can make a good game with any level of power. Look at the Nintendo Wii. It was extremely underpowered compared to the 360 and PS3, but Nintendo said, comparison is the thief of joy. And they made the Wii. It literally was just like a GameCube, basically, with motion controls. And I love it. They made great games on that thing. Mario Galaxy is an undisputed masterpiece. I need to make a video about that too. Mario Galaxy is just undisputed masterpiece. I mean, truly. That game is phenomenal. But, oh, I almost forgot. Donkey Kong Country was super special because instead of adding all this stupid bogus to the Super Nintendo, they said, we can use this hardware and make a game like no other. A 16-bit machine they made. Sorry guys, the camera cut off like mid-record. So I guess I'll end the video with this. Donkey Kong Country was a legendary game that stands the test of that stood the test of time to this day. It sold 9 million units plus, and it has a legacy that cannot be understated. Well, thanks for watching. I've got to get out of here now.